I'm Ann Smith, and I'm from the Nipissing District Branch of the Ontario Genealogical Society, now known as Ontario Ancestors.
You've moved into the new digs down here at the library.
This is new digs for sure. We were upstairs in the executive suite, and now we're downstairs in the basement. So we're going places.
You've recently come across some Nugget archives. Tell me about what you received when they were purging their files.
With the Nugget selling their building, we were told that there was some information that we might be able to use. So the bunch of us went, and we went to the Nugget office. Went to the Nugget office, and it was actually overwhelming. The information that was there, so much stuff to look at, so much stuff to go through, a lot of articles about groups, a lot of articles about teams and politics and that. But what we were interested in was articles about people, and mostly pictures. And so we went and brought what we could, everything that we could, to our library, and it is generally from, there's a little bit, teeny bit from the 50s, some 60s, a lot of 70s, 80s, and into the 90s of articles, of pictures taken by reporters, that there basically isn't a copy anywhere else. And we're trying to make an index of all this so that it's actually usable.
Tell me about a couple of things you found that were interesting.
We have a lot of things that were very interesting. The Grey Owl file was very interesting. It has a lot of pictures in it that you don't normally see anywhere else. Very good quality pictures, but articles about where the information came from when the original story was broken by the newspaper, how long it was kept for. There was articles about in that file about doing some research on different marriages, or if there was marriages done by different people. Very fascinating, and quite a bit of information as well.
Now, there's two different size files, and you're trying to combine them back. A real brief sort of description of the work that's involved and trying to get it put together so it's useful for people.
There's two different types. They call it a one-column file, and they're little cards about yay big, and they're about the size of a baseball card, envelopes. And in that is a lot of pictures, small articles, that kind of thing. And we're estimating that there was from 50 to 60,000 of those. And then in the filing cabinets, there was the 8.5 by 11 envelopes filled with bigger pictures and articles. And some of that was 8.5 by 11 pictures, actually all kinds of originals, beautiful pictures. There's a variety of different systems that they use, but what we were trying to do is save the little ones, like the pictures that we have, like the marriages, the anniversaries, that in a separate location, and then with the big files, anything else, put them into the 8.5 by 11 files, and again index that so that people are able to find their Aunt Mary or their Uncle George or whatever it is that they're looking for.
And you're going to have them sort of have a directory eventually?
Yes, we're going to have, we're working on basically an index.
Great.
So we'll be able to look for, if you're looking for a particular family, because we're specifically looking at people from this area, from around North Bay area, upwards up to like Temiskaming, over some Temagami, some Timmins and Kapuskasing, but not as much. But basically all the area. So if there's a file on Ann Landers, on Muhammad Ali, for example, we're not saving that. But we're particularly interested in the people from this area and that we take care of here in this branch.
Now you have files and stuff from a lot of different places in Ontario. Name some of the different places they have books of and information.
Well, we specifically concentrate on the Nipissing branch, And then we also have Parry Sound and Temiskaming. We have Renfrew. We have Brant, Algoma area. We have all the way through to southern Ontario. We have all the different districts of Ontario. Plus, we also have Quebec, and we have, I'm going to forget all of them, but we also have the Loyalist information. We have the United States stuff. We have Scottish, Irish, a little bit of everything. We brag that we have our opinion anyway, the best genealogy library in Northern Ontario.
How does somebody access your services and resources?
Well, we're open Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in this library between 1 o'clock and 3:30. And we always have, or we try always to have a very helpful, we're always very helpful genealogists that can put you in the right direction. And besides that, we have a website, and you can become a member of the Nipissing branch through the Ontario Genealogical Society. And in that, if you're a member of our branch, you actually get to access, we've digitized a lot of the newspapers.
Okay.
So we digitized from 1909 to 1931 of the North Bay Nugget, or the versions, it used to be called the Cobalt Daily News at one time. And we've digitized that, and it's available online in our members only section. And it's fairly indexed right up to 1930 with all the different information that you'd want for research. And we also have old newspapers that are non-North Bay Nuggets from the 1880s, 1890s, 1900s, that kind of thing. We have a few of those, and those are digitized online and indexed. That one is indexed at every name index. So I was being adventurous at the time or whatever, but it's every single name that was mentioned, every business name, every person's name, and it's all online in our members only site.
I remember you said there was a North Bay Times early?
Yes, there's a North Bay Times, a North Bay Dispatch. There was a North Bay Dispatch and Times. I think they were combining them together. A variety of different newspapers all through the years. At one time there would be a couple of them running at the same time, and one would be orientated towards one political party and one would be oriented towards the other political party. So you always had these articles that said so-and-so said this, and it's not true, but anyway, it was a very interesting reading. We have copies, paper copies of those old newspapers here in the library as well.
Definitely want to take a couple pictures of those. Not very expensive, but was it $60 for the Ontario membership and $6 more for you guys, or?
It was $63 for the Ontario membership. That allows you across the province membership, and then for our branch, it's $10.
Oh, okay.
Per year.
Okay.
So yes, it's not very very expensive. And then if you're a member of the Ontario Genealogical Society, then you can also become a member of another branch. If you have somebody in the Renfrew area, you can be a member of that area, or Ottawa, or whatever it is. You can become a member of those for an additional $10 or $15 or whatever, and have access to their members only section.
And compared to what Ancestry.com and those others offer, what are your suggestions for people that are getting into looking up their family trees?
Don't believe everything online. Some people take shortcuts when they're doing family trees on Ancestry, on Family Search as well, but they say, oh, there's my line, and they don't check on it, they don't make sure that it's valid, and they just add it to their family tree and say, well, it must be Uncle George.
Guesses.
Guesses. That's exactly what it is. Guesses. Just like my husband's family tree has an Uncle Lou, except 19 different ancestry trees had him as Aunt Lou. So I actually contacted all 19 of them and said, Uncle Lou does not look anything like Aunt Lou. So you don't believe everything you're going, and just because Ancestry says everything is online. It is not online. That's why we have the stuff in our library.
And I guess if you build your tree on one of those platforms, you don't own it.
That is correct. As soon as you upload your information to them or your pictures, they own it, and you don't have any control over it after that.
Kind of like Facebook.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. It's they have the control. They tell you right off the top that that's what's happening, but people don't realize the consequences of that.
And people can use that information as well for their purposes.
Yes, there's been lots of companies that have sold off all of their information that has been uploaded into their databases to medical companies, or use it for their own purposes. And the best bet is to have your own family tree and every kind of package that you want on your own computer or on paper, whichever is easier. At least you have control of it then.
Right. What are some of the most recent, we don't have to mention names, but in general, good news stories, people being able to match themselves up where they needed to find somebody or whatnot? Have there been anybody that you can think of that...
Well, you're always finding relatives that you never knew you had. That happens a lot with DNA in that system. And sometimes you're finding you're related to people that you don't want to be related to. In genealogy, it's actually interesting when your ancestor turns out to be a bad criminal, or because there's more information on them than there is on the regular Joe Blow. That's right. Then you can have a notorious Uncle Lou, so that everybody knows about. But that's mostly people that come into our library. We have the 3 different days. We have 3 different groups of very knowledgeable ladies, and they know their stuff in the directing, and there's a lot of stuff online that people don't realize that is there, that's not on Ancestry. And with the information that we have here, set them in the right direction.
Well, it's a good service to have. What else about your group here that might be new news for other people? They don't understand what you have and are able to. I saw some microfiche from other newspapers and areas that you have.
Yes, we have microfilms for the Nugget, for example, from 1909 to 2000. Right. We also have the Porcupine Advance. We have the Kirkland Lake paper, and I can't remember the name of it, and
the Daily News.
Or then probably, and the Timmins Press, I think it is. Yep. We have 3 different papers that we have in microfilm as well.
My first freelance article was in the Northern Daily News there for a Kirkland Lake company that was in a tribunal sort of fight with the ONR because they wanted to expand their charter bus service, and that was my first news story, first freelance story. I had to write it on my typewriter, call the guy in Kirkland Lake, read it out to him. He had to take in the notes and retype it for his purposes up there, and that was in 1987. Yeah.
It's a few years ago.
It was a couple years ago. That was my first freelance news story. It was cool. What else? I've drained my memory bank of what we've been talking about. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
Well, we have the 2 computers here for people that can have access to Ancestry and to Family Search. We have that availability. We also have stuff on different churches in the local area that aren't available anywhere else. We have all the cemeteries that we've done just about all of them. They're all done in the 80s, the 90s, and some up into the 2000s. So in some cases, a person might be looking at, they know Aunt Josephine was buried at such a cemetery, but they go there and they can't find it. That's because the stone is gone, which happens, and or is buried or whatever. And we have the transcriptions here of those back into that era. these ideas that they have where you just take pictures of all the stones in the park is great. Or taking pictures of all of the stones in the cemetery is a great idea, but it doesn't help you when the stone is no longer there. And that happens with the older stones. They fall apart. So we have a lot of resources and a lot of knowledge and a lot of networking. And we have meetings. We're just starting up in the meetings because we've been closed due to COVID, but we're starting up in September. And we have meetings for our members and locals.
How often do you meet when you do have your meetings going?
Almost every month. We meet September, October, and November. February, March, April, May, and June. We avoid January and December because of Christmas and that. And then we have we're off in the summertime. So we don't have meetings in the summertime because most people are at their cottage or somewhere else. So, but we have the meetings here at the library, and we're just starting up and trying to figure out what we're going to talk about, how we're going to utilize the new equipment that we have. We have new equipment that will hopefully be able to have Zoom meetings. Anyway, lots of stuff going on. But coming to the meetings is great because if you happen to be looking for expertise in English research, we will probably have a person there that has researched their English ancestor. The same sort of thing with about every other topic you could think about.